Guys, ChaseWins.com, and who is ready for another big Saturday of winning action? This is the first time you are seeing me this week, and we'll dig into that a little bit. Going to try to make this video pretty short because we've got a new release coming out tomorrow. Obviously, some of you may already know my partner Jerry Valdez. He is the co-founder and my partner in my sports foundation for youth sports, the We Are Sports Foundation. He has been tied to me in the sports betting world for years now. Um, he's very good friends. As close as brothers, and he's somebody that not only have we collabed on other things for the past few months, we've been working on a collab and an expansion within Venture Sports. How to go tackle some other markets and expand the media and the content side of things. And so behind the scenes, what you guys have not seen is that been in the works, and it became official in November. And so we've been working through with that and how to get everything kind of launched. So as I promised, everybody's been asking for the live shows to come back. At this time, they are not going to come back, and that's just because the breaking down of sports the way that I do it is taking 3 times as long because things change hour by hour. It's not normal right now, and it won't be normal until everything is back to normal. You could break down a game on Tuesday and love it. There could be a change, and you could love it even more on Wednesday. And an hour after you make that decision, the game is miraculously postponed or canceled altogether because of COVID. And so, because now you can't just break down a game for what it is and release something or promote something or be done with something or call it off or decide not to play it. You can't do that. You're having to come back to each game 3 times, 4 times, sometimes a half dozen times before you can solidify something. And I hate it too. I don't like doing that, but it's the way that it has to be done for now. And of course, that comes first before live shows. But what we are going to do is, because we have so many loyal supporters of the Outfielders Anonymous podcast for baseball, that will be back for baseball season in 2021. That's not going anywhere. We are going to be creating another podcast that will be all about sports betting and all other sports excluding baseball. Baseball will be left for Outfielders Anonymous, but for basketball, NBA and college, for the NHL, for football, for college and NFL, and tying sports betting into all that, along with just what's going on in the sports world, our opinions on stuff, call-ins, answering viewer questions, sponsorships, contests, all sorts of fun stuff. We are going to create another podcast/show. It will be put out on YouTube. It'll be on Spotify. It'll be on iTunes. It'll be everywhere. So you can watch it or just listen. And that's going to launch tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say about it for now. Tomorrow you will get to not only get a full breakdown of our thoughts on the entire NFL slate of games for Sunday, you'll get a free premium play in there, but we're also going to talk about the topics that I have been questioned about the most, because people know that I have very strong opinions about stuff. I don't care what people think about me for what I say, and if I say it, I mean it. So the whole Sarah Fuller thing with Vanderbilt being the kicker, the player of the week, I think most people would know I think it's nonsense. That we're going to talk about that on the podcast. We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh and what I think happens with him. We're going to talk about the firing of Vanderbilt's coach. We're going to talk about the what's going on with the Lions. We're going to talk about what's going on in the NBA. So all these things we are going to talk about, along with a full hour of nothing but sports betting, free breakdowns, free plays, so on and so forth. This will be a once a week show at least, sometimes twice a week, because we may break it up into individual sports. But that will be every week from here until it's full baseball time. And then you will get Outfielders Anonymous back. So that's what we're going to be doing, and that way you'll get the introduction to Jerry for those of you who do not know him, and you guys need to start getting used to seeing his face, because he is going to become a very big and vital part of content. You're going to see free play videos from him. You're going to see content in general from him, because he lives out west. He's in Arizona, but he is just across the line. An hour drive. He can be in Vegas. He goes to Vegas most weekends, so you'll be seeing a lot of content from sports books that we work with and that we usually use, a lot of William Hill stuff. So you'll get to see a lot of that content that we're going to be putting out that I know a lot of people have been wanting to see. And now that we are branching out and expanding, you will be able to see that. So on this video, I'm not going to touch on a lot of those other topics. We're going to save it for that. What I wanted to tell you is what we've got going on, something new that we're releasing. One thing that we are releasing, everybody knows that we do games of the week, games of the month, games of the year. Separate purchases you can make. All access members already get them. One thing that we are going to start adding is the upset of the week. So it could be in a different sport every week. We're going to do it through all sports. Every week we are going to pick a game where we are going to play an underdog. And, when talking about basketball or football, we may be taking the points that they're giving, but this is a game that not only are we think that they're going to cover by the points, but we think this is a game where the underdog can not only win outright, but has a really good shot at winning outright, and it would be the biggest upset of the week. And we might have this in multiple sports every week. This is going to be a separate play that you have to purchase, but all access members will obviously already get it. But for this week, for this weekend, we're going to give it out for free for anybody who buys a 1 week package. So if you buy a 1 week, a 1 month, a 1 year, whatever package you buy, if it's at least a 1 week package, you're going to get it absolutely free for this first time to kind of see what it's like. And then afterwards, you'll be able to buy them as we have them. We are also going to have a top play on Saturday. Not going to tell you whether it's basketball or football yet because that remains to be seen. We're going to also, if you're on a week package, you will get that as well, along with every other daily top play we have for that week. We may have a big top play on NFL on Sunday. Don't know yet. Want to see what happens over the next 24 hours. Obviously, that is a separate purchase unless you are an all access member. So be on the lookout for that. Buy a 1 week pass. Make sure you get that. That way you can get the upset of the week along with every other premium and daily top play we have across the board. And then also, if you are interested in getting the remainder of football, this is every single premium and daily top play that we have left in college and the NFL, which that's through the Super Bowl, through the college football playoffs, through the national championship, everything. You can get the remainder of it for $299. You have to email me, chase@chasewins.com. Say, hey, I want it, and I'll shoot you over the instructions of how to get it. And if you do that, if you buy that, and come towards the end, we start getting towards the Super Bowl and stuff, and you realize, hey, I really want to get on the remainder of college basketball or the NBA, we will then, for a discounted price, allow you to extend through March Madness and get basketball. That'll be up to you at that time. But you can get the remainder of football, every premium and daily top play that we have in college and NFL all the way until they're done this year, or 2021. You can get all of it for $299. But you have to email me, chase@chasewins.com. That's only available this weekend. Email me, and I'll get back to you as to how you can get it because it is not on the site where you can just go find it. There will be special instructions of how you have to grab that, put it in your basket, check out, all that stuff. So make sure you reach out for that. And then also, if you don't want something like that, or you could buy that and get the 1 week pass to make sure you get the upset of the week, and you would get all the college basketball that we will have over the next 7 days as well, which will be a lot. All right, so that should be kind of the promos. So anyway, stay tuned. We are going to record episode 1 tomorrow after all the plays are out. All of college football for the day is already up and posted. Everybody should have already gotten the email. College basketball will be posted in the later morning hours of Saturday or the early afternoon hours. As soon as I complete that card, post that. And then once that's done, we'll go in, we'll record episode 1, the introduction to everything, and we are going to try our best to have it edited and posted, out to the world by tomorrow, 7, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that way you have plenty of time to watch it to get all the information for NFL Sunday. But real quick, let's give you 2 free plays, 2 underdogs, because that's what I typically like to give out on video. And most of the time, our dogs win outright. One you guys may like or not like. One you're not going to like that I'm going to give you, and hell, I don't like it, but it's just everything is going that way, and I have to follow the way I do things. First, let's talk about college football. Oklahoma State, TCU. Oklahoma State is still ranked 15th in the country, which I don't believe that they are very deserving of that ranking because of the way this year has gone. And I think that some not so deserving talent is ranked in general. Sure, we could keep them in the top 25, but being in the top 15 is kind of a joke to me. The fact that you can rate Oklahoma State in the top 15, and I don't think that they've truly proven to be a top 20 team, let alone top 15, but yet you're not putting a team like BYU in the top 10 is kind of a slap in the face, because I think BYU, just what they went through to play this season with everyone against them, speaks volume. So they've gone through and make sure that every hoop somebody is put in front of them, they've jumped through. Oklahoma State didn't have any. The Big 12 was the very first conference that, hey, we're ready to play, we want to play. They had the most time to prepare. They started out earlier. They started earlier than everybody else. They were ready to go. So, them having games postponed didn't matter like it does to conferences like the Big 10 or the Pac-12 or something like that now. So for BYU, and plus they're 9-0, and it's not like they've just beaten nobodies. I mean, they've beaten some talented, tough squads. And with the way that this year is in general, I think BYU should have been ranked 8th or 9th in the country, truth be told. I think just because of the fact that Coastal is 9-0 and they have played competition like App State, which is, nobody to just bat your eyes at. I think that they truthfully, without a doubt, deserve top 15. I think they also should be right there, the 10th ranked. I think that Liberty, I think they should have beaten NC State. I think there were some bad calls. I think Liberty proved themselves to be a top 15 team without question. And some of these teams that are now, like, people are saying that, they're right there on the cuffs of being a playoff team, but yet they don't deserve it. Like Florida, I think, is just a joke. I think Florida, outside of Alabama, has proven just as much as anybody they deserve to be in playoff talk. Notre Dame beat Clemson. That warms my heart because I hate that team with every fiber of me. But let's face it, you beat them without Trevor Lawrence. Had Trevor Lawrence been in that game, Clemson would have won it. It's just the way it is. And when they get their revenge in the ACC championship, we know what's going to happen. And more than likely, both of you are going to be one-loss teams, and you're both going to go to the playoffs. So it's all so convoluted this year. It's crazy. But TCU, this will now be the third time that I've given out on video TCU is an underdog. Fourth time this season. Twice they've won it outright. One time they could have won it outright and gave it up in the last 5 minutes of the game. This is a game where everybody's looking at offenses, because TCU usually has a high-powered offense and a decent defense for Big 12, where usually it's high-powered offense for Oklahoma State, nothing defense. Well, this year, both teams, it's more like average offense for TCU per Big 12 standard. Still high-powered offense. Like, people are talking about Oklahoma State's offense as if it's one of the 5 best in the country. That's just not a fact. It's not one of the top 10 best. They have top 10 and top 5 playmakers. But if you look at the style of plays that have been called, it's a joke. And the sad thing is that Mike Gundy likes to take credit for calling plays when he doesn't and they're winning. And when he is calling plays and they shit the bed, running plays when they're not doing anything on the ground and they're running it on 3rd and 12, he doesn't want to mention anything there, talking about needing to get his coaches on the same page. Mike Gundy's going to call plays again tomorrow. It's going to happen, because one thing that they have done this year, even in games where they have shown great offensive performances, their offense is extremely one-dimensional. They have 2 guys that can run the ball, and if you shut them down, they have no one else. No one that can really find success. And when it comes to airing the ball out, which they love to do, even though their receivers are very talented receivers, again, the play calling has been so poor. You're shutting down 5-star receivers with average corners. All that secondary play is being stopped by average defenders. And it's not because the receivers aren't as good as advertised. It's because they are running the plays that they are told to run. Whether they're getting the information from a coach or a quarterback is irrelevant. It comes from the coaches. It gets to the quarterback. They're told what to run, and they have to run it. Because if they don't run that, they're not going to be there for a pass. And one thing that Mike Gundy always preaches is, if you run a play, you make the play. Whether you're throwing into double coverage, doesn't matter what you're doing. And that man is terrible at controlling the clock. He always has been. Obviously, he always will be. With the amount of talent that Oklahoma State has brought through that university over the past decade, and the fact that he has well underperformed the level of talent that he's put on the field, the fact that they'll deal with his BS off the field and he still has a job just shows that they ain't got nobody else they really have faith in looking for the job. That's a program a lot of people would take. Just like if Lincoln Riley left and went to the NFL, which is where he probably should have gone after last year, I really believe that what Oklahoma's putting on the field, they're just a few shifts and changes away, and one or two recruiting classes coming in, they're a national champion. They've got the offense to do it. It's then hanging on defense. And you would have five-star coaches line up for a job like at Oklahoma. Rumor is Urban might go to Texas. I think it'd be a good fit for him. And if he does, you will most certainly see Texas play for a national championship within the next 5 years because that's what Urban Meyer does. I think he should go to USC, but, I guess it's not my decision. And I think Texas would probably make him the highest paid coach in college football if he agreed to do something. Anyway, with TCU in this game, even though I don't think their defense is good enough to stop Oklahoma State's offense, and their offense is not good enough to keep up with the offense. I mean, Oklahoma State's defense isn't good enough to really stop anybody, so we know TCU is going to be able to score as long as their offense goes out there and plays correctly. They don't try to do too much at once. But I don't think that on normal days, TCU's offense is good enough to keep up with what Oklahoma State can do on offense. But this is what I think is going to happen in this game. I think Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, are going to look at some of the poor performances that TCU has had this year. They're going to go out there and think that they're attacking a weakness when in really that was just an off day where they made mistakes. Those mistakes since have been corrected. They can prevent them from happening by not going out there and doing the same thing. But if you go back and look at Oklahoma State matchups against anybody, it doesn't matter, offensively, defensively, they're so predictable and so one-dimensional that if TCU did their job in preparing for this Oklahoma State team that is taking the field this year, then I really believe that their offense is only going to be 50% as productive as they could be. And I really, truly think that TCU will have the advantage on defense. I really, really believe that. And I think that even though if you break the game down just by the numbers and just by the talent, then the first thing you'd ask yourself is, why is Oklahoma State not laying 9 or 10? Because truth be told, if you just go based on that, I've got them laying 9.5. But the reason that it opened up at 2.5, 3 in some spots, is because even the odds makers know that Oklahoma State is about the most untrustworthy team inside the Big 12 other than Baylor. And that is because their offense is probably the most talented offense in the Big 12 that can't produce anything. They can't produce what Texas can. They can't produce what Oklahoma can. They can't produce what Iowa State can. They just can't do it. And they have the talent to do it. They don't have the people molding that talent to do it. And defensively, they're below average at best, like always, even though they have gotten more defensive talent in there. So is Texas, so is Oklahoma. Those teams are getting better in defense. Oklahoma State's flatlining or getting worse. So I think that's going to open the door for TCU to come out, take some shots downfield early that are unexpected, stay in the game. If not, take the lead and control a little bit of it. And TCU, they're going to control the clock more. When they have the ball, they're going to know how to burn time, when to do it, get off the field when they need to. They're just going to do better. Mike Gundy's never done good at it. He never will. Tomorrow's not going to change anything. So I really see a game that if both teams played up to their potential, I see a double-digit win by Oklahoma State every day of the week. I don't trust Mike Gundy. I don't trust the defense. I don't trust the coaching staff in general. And I truly, truly believe that this is a game that could be decided by who has the ball last. I truly, truly do. Because even though talent-wise and on paper, Oklahoma State's here and TCU's down here, tomorrow, based on what I've seen watching these two teams, they're right here at each other. So I think this could be a game that, could very well be tied up with 5 minutes to go. TCU gets the ball and kicks a field goal with a minute to go and wins this game. Because then Oklahoma State gets it back. They're forced to throw it downfield. They make a mistake, throw into double coverage, and commit a turnover. When this game got to 3.5, which it did a couple hours ago, that's when we locked it in. I would have taken it at 3, was already going to. Hell, I probably would have taken it at 2.5. But 3.5, which means we're catching more than a field goal, I'm going to take TCU because in this spot, if they come out and they don't commit a bunch of errors and they don't do a lot of turnovers, I see this as a game TCU can win outright, and I'll gladly take a team, forcing Oklahoma State to win by more than a field goal. So I'm going to take TCU plus 3.5. That is a premium play, and I think TCU can win this game outright. So if you want to sprinkle some on the money line, by all means. Another game I want to give you, Houston Texans plus 4 against the Indianapolis Colts. Are the Colts the better team? Yes, by a mile. But here's what you have here, and I've preached this since Deshaun Watson was in college. He is not a quarterback. He never has been. He never will be. He's below average. He has a strong arm. He's good with his legs. He can scramble. But he doesn't know how to be a quarterback. He throws garbage into thin air, and he's always had someone downfield to pluck it out of thin air. And that's what makes him look successful even when he's not doing well. He can scramble. He can get into the end zone for some touchdowns. And what I will say is that Houston, even without DeAndre Hopkins, they're a fast team. And one thing I'm going to give credit to this Houston coaching staff now that they've fired that dipshit they should have gotten rid of a long time ago. And the fact that he let DeAndre Hopkins, the best receiver in the game, go just proved his stupidity. They are now utilizing Houston's speed by saying, okay, Deshaun, if you want to toss the ball up and you have to have somebody go get it, we have to be 2 steps off the ball faster, and we are. Calling plays that gets them out there. It's allowing Deshaun to throw more 12, 15-yard passes, in which he usually doesn't do. It's usually downfield or run the ball. So they're mixing things up, and what it's doing is it's keeping them in games, and that speed is what is wearing other teams out. What does Indianapolis survive on? Their defense. One of the best defenses in football. But the problem is, look at what they do against offenses that push the pace on them, that really run the ball fast. Some of the highest scoring games of this season have been involving Indianapolis, like when they play Tennessee. Tennessee's not a fast-paced team. They never have been. I mean, they're the run it and gun it, defensive, cram it down your throat team, give Derrick Henry the ball, and let's keep this clock going. But when they play Indianapolis, and when they've played certain teams this year, they flip the script, they go fast. What happens with Indianapolis and why they haven't been able to win games like that is because they'll keep up with you. Phillip Rivers knows how to do it because he did the fast-paced shit in San Diego. But he's not that type of guy. He's a pocket passer. He likes to drop back, take his time. And the thing that keeps Indianapolis in and ahead in games is their defense. When you run their defense ragged and you keep them going 100 miles an hour, their defense gives up big plays. That's why you see such high-scoring matchups. You're going to see a fairly decent high-scoring game in this one, but what I think is going to end up happening is Phillip Rivers is inevitably due for some mistakes. The way he plays, the mistakes he gives up, he hasn't had near as many this year. I think that this game and this week, where nobody expects the mistakes against a very below average defense, I think that he lets his guard down. I think mistakes happen. I think turnovers are created. And I think that defense figures out a way to score off of it. And I think that if these coaches have looked at anything about Indianapolis, they should know that if you run them fast by the second half, their defense gets weaker and weaker and weaker, which isn't uncommon. But for a team that relies on defense to win games, that's a recipe for disaster, especially when you are led by a quarterback that is turnover prone. He doesn't do it all the time, but when he does it, boy, he does a lot of it. Phillip Rivers is the same way that Nick Foles is. A lot of journeymen, Case Keenum, Nick Foles, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they can go out there and play like MVP candidate quarterbacks for weeks on end. And then one game goes, they commit a couple of turnovers, and then for the next 6 weeks, they're the most turnover-prone quarterback you've ever seen. Philip Rivers has not committed near the amount of turnovers that he usually does. It's gonna come, guys. I've been saying it all year. I think it starts with him letting his guard down this week against a shitty Houston team. And with the way these games are tightening up and the way these teams are getting worn out by COVID this and travel this and postpone here, I think that every dog is a live dog right now. I told you last week to watch the Ravens. I don't care how shorthanded they were going to give the Steelers a fight. Steelers played like shit. They're lucky to be 11-0. They're not going to go undefeated, and I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they're the best team in football. I think that good teams are starting to let their guard down, and bad teams are starting to say, fuck it, we want to play spoiler in some way. Houston sucks. They're going nowhere. Deshaun sucks. But you mark my words, I think that Houston's speed alone can keep them in this game. And with how tight NFL games are getting, a field goal is a lot more than it seems. Games over a touchdown are becoming more and more difficult for teams to do and cover. And a field goal is what 2 touchdowns would have been 6 weeks ago. So to get over that and get 4 full points, I think in this game against an Indianapolis team that has proven just from their 2 games against Tennessee alone that if you play hurry up, go, 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 that come the second half, unless their offense has been flawless, which Philip Rivers has never been and will never be flawless, that you're in that game, you've got a chance to win. And I think that what Deshaun is doing, getting more comfortable with his targets, has just enough in him to pull a surprise upset at home against a much better Indianapolis team. So I'm going to take Houston. I'm going to take the 4 points in a game that I think they could swoop in through the back door and win outright. There's your 2 free plays. We will give another premium free play out on tomorrow's show. Be on the lookout. Go buy a 1-week pass. You will get the upset of the week. It will be labeled as such. You'll get the daily top play. You'll get football. You'll get basketball. You'll get it all. $100, 7 days of plays. Go get it at the website right now. And then also jump on the $2.99 rest of football special that I told you about. Email me, chase@chasewins.com. I'll tell you exactly how to get it. I love you guys. We'll see you back for new content tomorrow. I can't wait. See ya.